Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome. It's a special edition of the Recruiting Hour brought to you by LonghornWealth.net. We're doing this one right in the aftermath of the Longhorns having a pre-4th of July set of fireworks. Longhorns pick up one of my favorite guys. I hate when this happens, where it's like this guy's underrated. I just so happen to like the kid that Texas has picked up a commitment from, a linebacker out of Mady Creek in Katy, KOSI OKPALA. Am I saying that right, Jason?
Yeah, you're exactly the way it's spelled. Yep, you're saying it right.
He's a guy that if you go to the national recruiting rankings, On3, which will become rivals or is rivals, but there's still two sets of numbers. He's one of these guys that's 27th in the state by On3 and 46th by rivals. 24/7 has him 57th. ESPN has him 43rd in the state. Generally speaking, he's kind of a run-of-the-mill 4-star, high 3-star linebacker, depending on how you look at it. I, Jason, am a big fan of this guy. I look at 6'1", 6'2", 215. The guys that go boom at this position oftentimes, they fit his physical profile literally perfectly. So he's the guy. He has the physical prototype. He has the game. I'm a big fan. I think I have him rated higher than all of these people. I think I have him inside the state top 25. So I'm a little more excited about this one than I think the mainstream public will be. So much attention on 5 stars and Felix Ojo and John Turntine. And this is actually a kid I like a lot.
Well, you know who else likes him, Catch? Obviously the Texas coaches. He's the only in-state linebacker, pure linebacker, really, that they targeted. I mean, they've got a couple other guys who are linebacker/edge guys, but KOSI is the only tried and true linebacker that the staff targeted from the state of Texas. So they've really liked him. He's been their top kind of priority guy all along. He's visited Texas a bunch. I went and watched this film again just as a refresher today, and he is fun to watch. I mean, if people go check out his huddle film, I mean, he can get the edge. He kind of, you can see him bend off the edge in his athleticism. And Coach is a guy, like, if we had him on the show, you're like, oh, what a nice kid. Like, I've talked to him a ton. I've seen him in person a ton. Great kid. But you put the film on, and he's got a nasty streak to you when he gets to the ball carrier. He doesn't want to drag you down, man. He wants to bury you in the turf. So I like this pickup for Texas. They need linebackers. He's a guy, when I last talked to him, he said, hey, they're recruiting me to play in the box, but as a more traditional linebacker, but they're also going to have me kind of leaning or learning and sitting in on the edge defender conversation, so I can kind of do some of that stuff too. So bring some position versatility. Texas, went out over Penn State, Miami, Baylor was involved there. So you got a couple big programs there that wanted KOSI OKPALA. So yeah, I'm with you, Catch. I like this pickup. And if Johnny Nance and those guys identified him as, hey, this is the guy we want in the state of Texas, well, they closed it down today. So that's a good reason for Texas fans to be happy and to celebrate this one.
You literally just segued into the conversation about this kid that I want to have. But before we do any of that, I do want to thank our sponsors. Texas got a commitment. Let's celebrate the person in the group that's helping make this happen. The people at Longhorn Wealth Net, specifically our guy, John Donovan. John's a proud Texas X Life member whose wife, siblings, all UT grads. The UT passion is what led John to brand his firm Longhorn Wealth Management Groups, dedicated to providing investment, retirement, insurance, and estate planning services and solutions to Longhorn families and friends for more than 30 years. There are no recruiting wins the last couple of weeks until today, but OB members got a win when we went private. Look at him celebrating us. Let's go, OB. John's confident that UT will get at least 3 or 4 commitments this week. I love the confidence. And 7 commitment announcements currently on the calendar. He may know more than we do. And at least 1 and possibly 2 out of Finley, Turntine, and Ojo. I think he's probably right about that. So Longhorn Wealth wants to get a positive momentum kickstarted today by offering all Orange Bloods Live fans the opportunity to take advantage of a free 90-minute private consultation with John. Hey, that's cool. To learn how to work, a certified financial planner like John can help you maximize wealth, minimize your taxes, ensure your legacy. I need to call John. So either call John or Longhorn Wealth Team, 972-707-4900, or go online, longhornwealth.net. Schedule your free 90-minute consultation. Again, I may do that with John today and manage and build and do all this stuff that you want to do to secure your financial future. Like, I'm sure Kopi Okpala is hoping that he did today. I'm sure he thinks of it like that. I'm sure he thinks, Jason, like a lot of these guys, I'm coming to Texas for the next 3 or 4 years, right? I'm sure that would, but I think you touched on him. I'm so glad that you did, because sometimes I go into the weeds with guys and I feel like I've gone too far into the weeds, and I end up having the conversation about a guy that nobody else wants to have.
Mhm.
You brought up the conversation I want to have, which is he's got the prototype size, but he really is an edge tweener of sorts that at the high school level, what I would like to see from him, from a guy with kind of the prototype size at the position that he has, right? So he's got the perfect height between 6'1" and 6'3". He's between 212, 220. There's a weird data point that I've done that there's like a weird number that if they're above it, nobody ever hits. But if they're in this sweet spot, that's where the magic can happen. But I want to watch this guy go sideline to sideline and, be athletic and show range, and really be a badass, what I think a college linebacker needs to look like. But what he does is kick ass off the edge as a rusher. He's kind of like, at the high school level, just a flat out football destroyer. They just line him up and it's like, go see ball, go get ball. And he does it. He's violent. You said it. He's fun to watch. You put his film on and you're like, okay, this guy can play on my team. This is one of these guys people will watch film on, Jason, and they'll be like, I love this guy. This guy's going to be a star, because he does kind of at this high school level walk around with a wallet that says bad MF on it. He's good. It's a matter of, does what he does at his size translate to the next level? And does he have the ability to be more sideline to sideline than maybe his huddle film or what he does at the high school level lets on? Because I don't think he's not Colin Simmons. He's not going to be a guy. He's smaller than Colin, and Colin's already a tweener, but Colin's got like special burst in athleticism. I don't think this kid quite has that. So the question for him is going to be, as he goes to college, can he be more than a badass football player, which he is? How much range does he has? Where does he fit in as a college football player? Because if you're telling me he's going to be Brad Spence, he's kind of an undersized Brad Spence. But if you're telling me that this guy's got more diversity in his skill set, then I think he's got a chance to be a fantastic player at the next level. He's just, I think, hard to watch at this level and truly know exactly what he is and who he is, because his skill set says he's kind of a hybrid, like you said, and Texas is going to have him sitting with the edge guys maybe, that he's a kind of a hybrid player is really interesting, because his skill set as a player screams that makes sense. His size screams he'd be tiny if that's what they do with him.
Yeah, I think Texas does view him as a more traditional linebacker. If his body fills out. And listen, KOSI does not miss weight room days. He's really
he's good looking kid.
Yeah, but he's still pretty lean. I mean, he doesn't look like your traditional edge guy that's, more just a pin his ears back and get to the quarterback. That's what you see when you watch his film, because that's what he's great at in high school, and he can disrupt plays. But, listen, I mean, obviously I mentioned the 4 schools that were finalists. Oklahoma wanted him. Texas A&M wanted him. Alabama, Ohio State. I mean, Notre Dame. He had offers from just about everybody. The only time I've seen him really do the things you're talking about, Catch, I've seen him at a lot of camps, like Under Armour camps, things of that nature. And in those linebackers are out there chasing around running backs and tight ends. Okay, it's not really conducive.
Yeah,
to the linebackers having their say. It's usually the offensive guys winning. I've seen him in those settings, including an Under Armour camp a couple months ago down in Houston, and he does really well in space and moves well. Now, is that going to translate, as you said, a pure linebacker running sideline to sideline, reading plays, diagnosing plays, have that kind of athleticism? We'll see. But I've seen him move pretty well in those types of settings. I think he does have the tools to do those things. One thing I know, as far as diagnosing plays, Coach is going to put in the work physically, mentally, in the classroom, or with the coaches on the whiteboard. He's going to put in the work to be good. So we'll see. He might be a guy that needs a little seasoning in that kind of in the box role.
for sure.
But I think he'll get there. I think this is a good pickup for Texas. I do think he'll get there for Texas and fill that kind of role.
Yeah, and look, I'm throwing the question out on this kid, but I do have him ranked 20th in the state in the 2026 recruiting class in state. I don't quite have him like as a super blue chip, but I have him in the tier below that. So while we're having an honest conversation about the adjustments that he's going to have to make, I want to reiterate to everybody, I'm this kid's biggest fan, I think, in the entire recruiting industry. I mentioned On3 has him at 27 and Rivals had him in the 40s. I have him inside the top 20. So he's up there. I was thinking about this today. It's why I'm so glad that you kind of brought it up, Jason. We've seen, boy, there are so many examples of this. I think we've seen guys who are the reverse of OKPALA's kind of high school film, right? At their best, you see them go sideline to sideline. But those guys oftentimes that have kind of that profile, they're the ones that you end up saying, I wish they were a little more like OKPALA.
They're not strong enough. They're going to get caught up in traffic. This guy can.
They run sideline to sideline, but can he hold up at the point of attack?
We've seen Texas take those types, and they kind of end up being safeties a lot of times, right? So I mean, this guy is maybe the other direction. So
well, and so I just found myself saying, if I could have one or the other, that what's the most important thing to have? The measurables, like athletically, that I just go, oh my God, if the light switch goes on, he could be a great player. I don't feel like with OKPALA, it's a light switch issue. He has the light switch. Mm-hmm. It really is a matter of if he can do all of the things that, you know, he'll be going to the SEC. So playing high school football linebacker in the state of Texas is not quite the same thing as suddenly being in a game, Texas versus Georgia, and you're playing linebacker, and it's just different. So, you know, I think with OKPALA, I'm excited by the measurables. For me, he's in the sweet spot. I love the game. He just has to prove that he can do some of this stuff that is kind of hit or miss. But I think Jason also you're making a bunch of great points in this video. It's like you've been listening to the Longhorn Wealth guys talk about how to get their wealth. You just keep making great points. I think that this is a kid that does the hard stuff really well. And if he can make the acclimation, he's going to be that's the thing. If he can do it, he's going to be a badass because he's a badass football player. It really is like, okay, well, how does his game adjust? And, you know, when you make these leaps, it is the $1 million question. But I sometimes will look at these guys with a profile and I'll go, this guy ain't going to make it. And I hate to be the guy. I don't want to be, and I had to fake my optimism. I like this kid a lot. I think that this will be of whatever Texas does the rest of the week in recruiting, and we can kind of adjust to that quickly, Jason, with announcements coming over the course of the next couple of days. I think this will be a guy whose commitment goes a little under the radar, and I get it. I can't say constantly that super blue chips are the thing that matter the most and then make too big of a deal out of a guy that nobody ranks quite that high. But I like the kid. I'm higher on him than most people. I wouldn't be shocked if after his senior season, he ends up in that type of class. He'll get seen this year as a senior. It's not like he plays out in the boonies. So if he makes some of the adjustments that people can see in real time as a senior, I can easily see this guy being a national top 15 or 20 guy. And that's kind of where I already have him ranked as inside the state of Texas as a prospect. I think everybody else could follow if he's as good as I think he is.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I don't think he's going to fall any. I think if anything, people are going to see more of him and he's going to move up. I mean, I'm looking at his ranking. He is the number 11 ranked linebacker by On3. Rivals has him 24/7, number 40. You see number 11, you're like, whoa, that's probably a super blue chip, but it's a little more specialized now.
And On3 likes him more than anybody else.
Do, yeah. But it's also the position is a little more specialized. You've got guys that are classified as edge defenders and KOSI. It's getting, I tell you, Catch, it's harder and harder to find true linebackers. I
It
mean,
is.
3-down linebackers are tough to find. KOSI can be that guy for you because he can obviously rush the passer. We think, and like you said, he's going to have to prove it. We think he can do the things, drop into coverage and, play the run game and play sideline to sideline. But, like you said, he'll have to prove it on the big boy stage. But I do like this pickup with the Texas got. Now we head into Friday. Obviously, we'll be watching for some potential fireworks there on 4th of July. I didn't even mean that to say like that pun not intended, if you can believe that or not. But, Felix Ojo, Caden Finley, John Turntine. So Friday could be eventful. John mentioned in the commercial that he's predicting some commitments. I'm with him. I think they're going to get some. We'll just see how many on Friday.
John would probably, would sit down and talk with you and say Rome's not built in a day. And who knows, you might have a bad day and putting your wealth management together. But Mom always said there will be bad days. You want to have more good days and bad days. And at the end, you want to have a lot more good days and bad days. And I feel like that's Texas recruiting in a nutshell, that in the summertime, they have some bad days. They've had some. They've literally had some bad days. Friday may not be the day that Texas fans completely want it to be. I'm a little shocked. I recorded a show earlier today where it's like, I don't know how to talk about Felix Ojo completely. I don't know. I don't completely know what to say about his recruitment other than I don't know what to say. And so we enter this point where he's getting ready to make his decision, and it's not the end all be all. Everybody at Texas keeps saying that. And like, I buy it. Like at this point, all of the evidence shows they're right. They'll figure it out. It'll be fantastic. Like that's what they do. But it's also hard for guys like you and I to watch what's happening in real time. And part of us has to give analysis and say, hey, Texas lost another, or Texas stopped the bleeding, or Texas is on fire. Like our job is to comment on what's happening. Part of what's happening this year is that things that we would normally be like, ooh, that's not good. Now we have to say, ooh, that's not good, but maybe not so bad. I don't know. It's very nebulous. We'll see. The thing is, we did say that about DeCorian Moore last year, and it turned out, you know what? He was rock solid. Last year in July, we would say things like, long time till December. Anything can happen. It turns out that kid was really locked in. Then there are examples like Anthony Hill, where almost immediately after he committed to A&M, there was a murmur of like, hey, watch. Him in Texas, this is when it's going to happen. The wheels are in motion. And it was like, well, wait a minute. What are you talking about? He just committed to A&M. I was like, oh, no, it's – and I remember that situation. That source was right every step of the way about every little detail of the planning. So it's hard to say. Like sometimes these big time guys announce in July and it means nothing. Colin Simmons is another example of all week long, Jason, if we remember, there was uncertainty. Is it going to be LSU? Is it going to be Texas? Texas, LSU? Who is it? What date? Does it matter? I had a Texas source tell me early in the week, we don't even care. If he picks us, great. If he doesn't, we know we're going to fight all the way till signing day. Well, as it turns out, he committed to Texas, canceled that LSU visit for the Southern game that everybody had been wondering about. And he was kind of one of the most locked in, committed guys to Texas of that entire class. There was no Colin Simmons drama, really.
Very uneventful, which was a pleasure to cover.
And we thought the day that he committed, like, oh.
We're like, oh, man, it's going to be a roller coaster ride. But no,
this is like, don't write this in ink no matter what he does. So I say all of that because as we talk about Turntine and we talk about Ojo tomorrow, there will be a part of us that says whatever happens matters, and it might be the end-all, be-all. And then there are other examples where actually this might be just the beginning. Maybe this thing's just now getting frisky. We never know in advance. There are times we think we know and we're wrong. So now it's like whenever a situation like Ojo, Turntine, Finley pop up, all we can do is like read people both sides of the coin and say, it might, okay, bear with me here, land on heads. The heads looks like a George Washington. You know what I mean? Like you may have to explain it on both sides and then go, let's flip a coin. It could be either. it is the frustrating thing about, I think, being an analyst right now, because everything's a little wishy-washy. We did it with Richard Wesley. Like, that kid's saying all the right things, but he's already been committed once elsewhere. It's hard not to say.
Yeah, it is, especially some of these guys. I think Turntine, whatever he decides tomorrow, will be final.
You think?
I think. You never say never. Caden Finley, I think, will be pretty solid. Ojo, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, honestly, as we're talking, we still don't know 100% where he's going to wind up, right? I mean, we've been reporting on Orange Bloods all week. There's a lot of uncertainty in that, more than the casual fan realizes. Okay, so I'd say it's going to make for an interesting Friday, right, and a fun Friday. And the good news is, Catch, most of these announcements are early afternoon, so we'll have our 4th of July evening to maybe relax a little bit. But yeah, it's going to make for a fun Friday, and we'll have it all covered on orangebloods.com.
Yeah, last thing I'll say, and then we'll wrap up. And again, thanks to the guys, the amazing people over at Longhorn Wealth Management, 972-707-4900. Let them give you a free 90-minute breakdown of what they do and how they can help you. It sounds like a little slice of heaven. When the last thing I wanted to say is, if they don't get Ojo, I think about what my reaction would be if I was an Orange Blood subscriber. And I'd go, you know what? And I don't think this is our fault, because really the industry ended up being guilty of this. And I think oftentimes you're often the first that ends up reporting the which is a little bit of a joke, but like Riley Pettyjohn's a perfect example. There have now been a string of guys. DeCorian Moore's probably got to be one. There's a group of guys, certainly in the last 2 classes, KJ Edwards this year, where in January the industry, and I'm guilty of this because I put in a Texas Futurecast for Ojo in January. So my confirmation bias is saying, I think this kid's going to go to Texas. I've already entered in the deal. Now, while the perception has been it probably will be Texas the entire time, I think it's been reported by the industry as such a foregone conclusion that he would be, again, a little bit like KJ Edwards. There's been a couple of guys now in every single class where we get to June or July, and guys that we thought were absolutely going to be Longhorns don't end up Longhorns. And I guess I bring all of this up as you and I have never had this conversation before. Next year, next January, when we're talking about the 2027 guys, and they are just getting ready to start their junior days, you and I need to do this. We need to have this exchange. Hey,
remember
what happens? Just remember, last year, there were like 2 or 3 guys that we absolutely thought were going to be Longhorns. And wild, wacky stuff happened. We get to July, and guys you would have bet a house payment on ended up not. You know what I mean? So, like, next year, because next time we get to January and there's a badass that's leaning towards Texas in January, I would probably be snide and go, oh, yeah, leaning towards Texas, and just like DeCorian Moore and Riley Pettyjohn and potentially Felix Ojo were. Because the thing that at that point you and I could only say is like, touche. You're right. Like, we weren't exclusively wrong in reporting that. Like, I do think it was an industry thing, but like, we probably should be aware of like the trends that we're a part of. I'm gonna feel foolish if I really just personally felt like Ojo was that kid's gonna be a Longhorn. He just is.
It's tougher now than it ever was. NIL can change things in a hurry. I mean, you have guys that show up to Texas 7 times decked out in Texas gear, and then at the last minute, it's like, nope, I'm going to this other school, because the dollars matter. So, I talked to a source about that this week. This is a college coach, Catch. He said, I am done trying to predict where kids or guess where kids are going. I go, must be nice. That's literally my job. So, I mean,
are you taunting me? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, even the people who are you got elbow deep in these things. You're like, hey man, I don't know. We just do the best we can and hope it falls our way. So yeah, it gets tougher and tougher to make a final prediction on these guys. Hell, I had a kid tell me a couple weeks ago, he gave me commitment quotes for Texas and he knew he was going to Georgia. So
no, exactly. So it really is a curious little, and then there are times, like I said, where, we sniff it out first and there's a little bit of there's an industry pushback. I would have done, if I'd been on another website, it's the Terrell Austin situation. We'll wrap it up. But, like I woke up the morning the Terrell Austin thing broke apart and I had talked to players that had meeting with him. He had been introduced as their defensive coordinator. They had conveyed to me what the conversation sounded like. They were captains on the team, felt pretty good about Terrell Austin being the new defensive coordinator at Texas. And when it started to go sideways, the whole "it's Austin" thing just permeated from, hey, how I went to bed last night, I thought it was done. So in my head, it's done, it's done, it's done. And the first time somebody asks a question about it, I was like, it's done, it's Austin. And it was like, no, dude, your biases are built on something that happened yesterday and things have changed. And I just think next year there's going to be a 5-star that we all think is going to Texas. And we just need to remember, maybe we should slow down with the automatically assuming the kid's going to end up at Texas just because every year now there seems to be potentially a guy where that happens with. Even right now, KJ Edwards would be a good example of, I really thought that kid was going to end up at Texas. And then even the days after he commits to A&M, Jason, there was nothing coming out of his visit. We talked to people that they were like, we think it went well. Like, we think A&M made some ground up. That was some of what we heard when we had talked to some A&M people, you specifically. But nobody was like, yo, that kid's coming to. Like, it was a little bit less emphatic than that. And, that's rare with a kid that is looking at Texas. But maybe not. Maybe these guys flip in 2025 in such a way that we can't get surprised anymore.
Yeah, I think you're probably onto something. KJ comes out of his visits. Now schools are doing everything they can, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, to keep kids from taking those other visits. Because you remember he was supposed to visit Texas. He canceled that visit.
It looked like that's where you would want your visit to be. And then.
Yeah. Well, USC's famously doing it. Hey, commit right now and we'll give you, because it's in California, it's legal. We'll give you an NIL deal right now, signed, sealed, and delivered. But you don't get to take any other visits. We'll start payments right now. So that's legal in California. It's not in Texas, but it's not stopping some schools.
No. But it is also a reminder, like when Brandon Baker was a recruit, he was having legitimate NIL discussions in the summer.
Yeah.
That were just different than everybody else. Guys, we got to go. There's other stuff we've got to track down. One commitment down. Tomorrow is going to be crazy. Let us enjoy a little time with our families on the 3rd of July. We're trying. Thanks to the guys again, Longhorn Wealth Management. Let them give you a 90-minute sit-down powwow about how to make you rich or wealthier or better off, or, hey, man, whatever you need. Take that first step. Let them do it. They are the sponsor of the Recruiting Hour, which today was a commitment breakdown. Again, if you just missed it, which I don't know how you'd be 30 minutes into the video and then have missed the opening minute, but KOSI OKPALA, linebacker, Mady Creek out of Katy boy, A&M territory, just for the record, not usually a Texas stomping grounds in recruiting. He is the latest Longhorn commitment. Get all of the information over orangebloods.com, instant analysis, interviews, the whole 9 for Jason Sukumel and myself and the guys over at longhornwealth.net. You guys have a great holiday. We'll talk to you soon. Later.